names?
Charles Hattenbach, Sheila Hattenbach.
And then
This is my wife. We've been married 56 years.
okay. When were you born?
1933.
All right. And then I guess can you tell us your story about the war?
I joined the Army in 1949. After basic training, I was sent to an installation that was monitored by the Atomic Energy Commission. I was cleared for security for the atomic bomb. It was highly classified. Very few people got this clearance. The FBI came to my hometown, spent a whole week investigating from the day of my birth to the time I went into service. Very few people could qualify for this. They called it the Queen clearance. Anybody over the age of 20 plus couldn't even get it. They wouldn't even try to clear them because of security reasons. Very few people had this. A lot of the higher ranking people in the Army couldn't even enter the installations. In 1950, I went to Eniwetok Island. We tested atomic bombs in 1951. We set off some of the highest, biggest bombs that was ever detonated by the United States.
That is wonderful.
After that, the program dwindled down. They didn't set off as high explosives because they actually blew islands out of the water, completely decimated. I guarded the stockpile of the atomic bombs. For the whole time I was in the military, I was under the control of the Atomic Energy Commission, which done the work for the Army, done the work for the Atomic Energy Commission in security. Eventually, that was turned over to a civilian counterpart because of the Korean War. Everybody in the military was supposed to go to the Korean War, but they wouldn't let us people that had the clearance go to the theater of war. We were not allowed to even leave the United States. That security lasted for 20 years, and it was 20 years before I was supposed to talk about, tell what I'd done, where I'd been at, or anything. I guarded the scientists, the people that done the bomb tests. We were the only one allowed to have weapons on any of the installations, and some of the people in the test were horribly disfigured after the test, within 2 or 3 days. We don't know what happened to them. We were never ever told what happened to them because of the security clearance. So when I was discharged from the Army, I was not allowed to leave the United States. I couldn't even get a passport to leave the United States. I was forever supposed to be silent about what I'd done. But eventually that clearance was lifted because everybody talked about it, knew about it. But I'm lucky to be alive today, considering what I went through and what I've had. I do have a lot of problems. My wife can testify to that. Everything I touch turns yellow. It's from the radiation exposure. They call it radiation sickness. And I have it, and you can't get rid of it. It's something you don't get over with. It's there forever. And the government, nor the Army, nor the Atomic Energy Commission will admit to any of this stuff. They don't qualify us as being a real disabled veteran. But most of the men that were on the test are disabled, and a lot of them are dead. Questions?
So, were you two together?
No.
No.
I didn't get married for years. I was afraid that I couldn't have kids. I was afraid that I couldn't, for several years after I got out of the Army, I couldn't understand to have clothes on because of the skin conditions. And today they still don't recognize that. Very few doctors even understand radiation sickness, radiation fallout. They don't understand it. They were not taught that in medical school. I've talked to a lot of doctors. They don't know what to say or do. They have no experience in it at all. Nothing.
Well, what were you doing during that time then if you guys weren't married?
I didn't even know him at that time. We didn't meet until years later.
Well, were you doing anything interesting during that time before you knew him? Or
Nothing like that.
She worked in various places. She worked 7 years for the Evansville College, or 5 years for the Evansville College. She was in charge of all the tests. She kept them under lock and key.
I worked at different places. I worked for the college. I worked at Sun Oil Company.
She was
After we got married, I worked at, at Sun Oil Company, you had to quit when you got 3 months pregnant.
Oh,
That's a
okay.
novelty.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen these days.
No.
But when you started showing, your belly started bulging, you had to quit.
and she's a qualified travel agent, and she was a loss prevention manager for Kmart.
I don't work anymore.
We're both retired. We're lucky that we're alive at this age, considering all the stuff that we've done.
We have 5 children. They're all
11
healthy.
grandchildren?
They're all healthy. We have 11 grandchildren. They're all healthy. One has some problems, but it has nothing to do with his
Yeah.
situation. And so we're lucky that they were all healthy.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
In addition to that, the Army, AEC, United States government, conveniently lost my military records for 20 years. Then when I did get them back, almost all of my hospital records were deleted.
Oh, wow.
I could not get them at all. Security,
Oh, okay.
high security.
Afterwards, we went to a lot of meetings for the Atomic Veterans had, what was it, NAA?
National Association for Atomic Veterans. I am like a charter member, a lifetime member of several veterans and National Association of Atomic exposure people that were on the tests. And
We met a lot of disabled atomic veterans at these group meetings.
it started with the bikini test in 1946. The Navy men were exposed. And if you want to see a movie, get the documentary, National Geographic, by them that is called Bikini. Watch it and it'll show you at last what they look like.
They had to jump in the water and clean the outside of the ships after the bombs exploded.
Oh my gosh.
So their skin was ruined.
At 18 and 19, your teeth turned black. A lot of men's teeth fell out. 21-year-old men were toothless because of the exposure. They have big lesions on their legs and arms where the skin turned black. And it died and they took it out. Doctors don't understand this. The government, the Army, the AEC wouldn't admit to none of it, but most of the men on the bikini test had all kind of end problems, cancer. At Anahuac, I had 3 men in my platoon that on the second day could not wear uniforms, could not go back on duty. They had big black places swollen on them. They took them out of the unit in 5 days. We never know what happened to them. We don't know if they died. They wouldn't tell us. We never ever found out what happened to them.
Tell them about the glasses and the monitor that they threw away. They gave them glasses.
Oh yeah, we had glasses to watch the test, and it knocked people down and nearly shattered your eardrums. See, we stood and watched them go off. We stood and watched the bombs go off. They built whole towns with a village, furnished it with household furnishings, refrigerators, stoves,
Like you were making
tables.
movies, it was a
They
town.
hung drapes. They had half a dozen houses filled with mannequins sitting at tables. The day after the blast, it's empty. Your bombs vaporize everything. There's nothing left. Nothing. It wipes everything completely. These were on the islands in the Marshall Islands in Pacific and Wetumpka Atoll. It's condemned forever. Nobody can live there.
They won't even let you go on and like visit, like we'd
No.
like to go back
You
and see
can't
some
go
of
back.
this. You can't get off the ship.
It's a high security clearance, or it's a high security area. Nobody is allowed there at all. It's under the control of the United States government.
What about your monitor they gave you?
Oh, well, we had Geiger counters to check people for radiation. The batteries were dead, the batteries were bad, they were all corroded up. So when I was on duty, my men said, well, we're not going to carry that big heavy Geiger counter around with that big battery in it, it's no good. So they took the batteries out, threw them in the ocean, and carried the empty Geiger counter around. This is all fake. That's the way it was.
Wow.
You read about all the high stuff that the government does. Nobody knows what they're doing like that.
They tried for years, these organizations, to get them to recognize that the atomic veterans had special problems, but they don't recognize it.
The VA today, the Veterans Administration, does not know the first thing about the atomic veterans that participated in the atomic tests. And some of them are so ill, sick, they will not adhere or address any of that. They won't do it. They don't know nothing about it.
Well, they're dying off now.
You
They're
ask a
older,
doctor,
and so they're-
you ask a young doctor today what he knows about it, he don't know nothing about anything relating to the radiation sickness, the radiation exposure that the men in the tests had.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us.